We've all seen depictions of crime in shows like Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, or Sons of Anarchy. But what about the real-life organizations that inspired these stories? In this video, we're diving deep into the dark underbelly of American history, exploring the top 5 most influential criminal organizations. Get ready to explore the stories of power, corruption, and violence as we uncover the truth behind these infamous organizations. The Chicago Outfit. Born out of the chaos of Prohibition, these guys saw an opportunity in the illegal booze trade and they went all in. They were ruthless, controlling everything from speakeasies to gambling dens. And then there's Al Capone, Scarface himself. This guy was a total badass, a cold-blooded killer who became a legend. He was making millions during Prohibition, but it wasn't just about the money, it was about power. Capone controlled politicians, judges, even the cops. He was untouchable. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, where they took out 7 members of a rival gang, that's the kind of stuff Capone was known for. But you know what finally brought him down? Taxes. Taxes, am I right? The feds couldn't get him on murder or racketeering, but tax evasion? That was his downfall. The outfit's influence stretched far beyond Chicago. They were the blueprint for organized crime in America. Now this is where things get really wild. The Medellin Cartel. Led by the infamous Pablo Escobar, they turned Colombia into the epicenter of the global cocaine trade. Screw Cocaine Bear. This guy was the cocaine king. At one point, he was supplying something like 80% of the cocaine coming into the US. And the money? It was flowing in faster than they could count it. We're talking billions, man, billions of dollars. But with that kind of money comes violence, and Escobar wasn't afraid to use it. He waged war on the Colombian government, on rival cartels, on anyone who got in his way. He was responsible for thousands of deaths. In the end, though, even Escobar couldn't outrun the law forever. He was hunted down and killed in a rooftop shootout in 1993. But the legacy of the Medellin Cartel and the violence they unleashed that continues to haunt Colombia to this day. Let's talk about the Hells Angels. What a name. These guys are the epitome of outlaw biker culture. They live by their own rules, their own code. They were founded right after World War II by a bunch of disgruntled veterans who were looking for brotherhood and a little bit of rebellion. They became notorious for their wild lifestyle, their motorcycles, and their involvement in all sorts of criminal activities. We're talking drug trafficking, extortion, you name it. And then there's Ralph "Sonny" Barger, the legendary leader of the Oakland chapter. Under Barger's leadership, the Hells Angels expanded across the US and even internationally. They've been linked to countless acts of violence over the years, including the infamous Altamont Free Concert in 1969, where a member of the Hells Angels stabbed a man to death in front of the Rolling Stones. The Hells Angels, they're more than just a motorcycle club. They're a cultural force, a symbol of rebellion and freedom, even if it comes with a dark side. Now, this is where things get really scary. The Sinaloa Cartel. These guys are like the modern-day version of the Medellin Cartel, but even more sophisticated, more powerful, and way more dangerous. Let me tell you about the boss, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Think Omar Navarro from Ozark, but real. He escaped from prison twice, once through a tunnel that stretched for a mile. A mile! They're involved in everything from cocaine and heroin to methamphetamines and fentanyl. They're responsible for flooding the US with drugs to this day. And the violence? It's off the charts. They control territories, they fight wars with rival cartels, they bribe officials. They're a state within a state. El Chapo was finally captured in 2016 and extradited to the US, where he's serving a life sentence. But the Sinaloa Cartel, they're still out there. When you think of the Irish mob, you think of Boston, and when you think of Boston, you think of Whitey Bulger and the Winter Hill Gang. Now Bulger, he was a different beast. He was a cold-blooded killer, no doubt about it, but he was also an informant for the FBI. He played both sides of the law. He grew up in the projects in South Boston, and he rose through the ranks of the Irish mob, taking control of the Winter Hill Gang. They ran the rackets in Boston, gambling, loan sharking, drug dealing, you name it. But Bulger, he was also talking to the FBI, giving them information on his rivals, the Italian Mafia. It was a dangerous game he was playing, and it ultimately caught up with him. He went on the run in 1994 after being tipped off by his FBI handler that he was about to be indicted. He was on the lam for 16 years, living as a fugitive. They finally caught him in 2011, living quietly in California with his girlfriend. It's crazy when you think about the impact these organizations have had on our country. They're like a dark reflection of our own history, a reminder of the power of greed, ambition, and violence. So the next time you see a movie or a TV show about the mob or a cartel, remember that there's a real story behind it, a story that's often even more shocking and unbelievable than fiction.